Mr. Saktiandi Supaat.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the President for her address and I pledge my support for the motion. In her speech, the President spoke about the need for Singaporeans to work closely with the new generation of 4G leaders to write our future chapters. We are at the cusp of a new era. Jobs automation, reskilling, cashless payments, smart technology and so forth are becoming a part of our lives, regardless of whether we are resistant to it. A renewal of leadership comes at an opportune moment. In the meantime, citizens too must partner this new government and renew ourselves so that we can navigate the new complexities as one. Minister Chan mentioned the need for connectivity and importance of talent for Singapore, and as well saying that we need to make 300 million friends and fans. Given our lack of hinterland and mineral resources, it is inevitable that Singapore will have to use new technologies, platforms and connectivity channels to overcome these constraints and build demand for our products and services. Globally, this will come fast and furious, unlike what we have seen in the past phases of global industrialization and technological advances. Smart technology and automation save us a lot of time and effort, which we can then use to indulge in other pursuits. For the less mobile and elderly, such technology enables them to lead more independent and fuller lives, and this is good news for an aging society. Yet, because new technologies are emerging and evolving every day, there is only a short window of time to adapt. Those who are unable to catch up, particularly the seniors and the poor and less educated, get left behind and further behind. This causes existing inequalities to worsen. So in moving forward, it is absolutely crucial that we patch up these cracks before they turn into chasms. And at the same time as this is happening, many are concerned about the changing nature of work. The amount of self-employment is increasing, along with the fragmentation of labor into micro-jobs. So is it contingent that work such as self-employment or gig work and the disappearance of salaried employment, is it likely to become the norm? I do not think so. I would think it would be a gradual move towards more people working independently and not complete disappearance of salaried jobs. In this ecosystem of rapidly changing technology and evolving nature of employment, and with tighter global competition, the labour market of the future will be somewhat tight and will get tighter. So it is essential to ensure workers' well-being, either in search of jobs, whether salaried employment or self-employment. The state or government must be the guarantor of a level playing field between organizational forms. And one thing is certain, we will need to rethink our labour laws, regulations, and the whole work environment, training, retirement, and unemployment insurance, in a world of rapid technological and organizational change. This is even more important as the only resource we have are our people, our talents. I firmly believe that in the future, countries that can attract the most productive people in the digital economy will disrupt the value chain in every sector and appropriate immense wealth, while other countries will have only the scraps. The mobility of talented people will lead many of these wealth creators to migrate to countries that offer the best conditions, including the lowest tax. So countries not taking part in this global competition for talent will not be able to redistribute wealth to the poor, because the poor will be all that they have. So as such, it is inevitable that Singapore will have to be more flexible to global talent to make our economy more vibrant to surprisingly make us more inclusive too. To achieve many of these things, Singaporeans will need good jobs, jobs that will give them good incomes to sustain their desired livelihoods, jobs that are fulfilling and challenge them to grow. Unfortunately, some of them, despite being capable and well qualified, are impeded due to discrimination against circumstances that cannot be helped. The President highlighted the need to continue to strive for a more caring and inclusive society and the need to tackle inequality vigorously, she said. She had mentioned the need to provide the right additional support to those needing it in housing, education, skills training and employment so that meritocracy works well. Only then everyone can do well through hard work, talent and skills regardless of their backgrounds. But for many people and for the future, the right question is not whether there will still be work. The real question is whether there will be enough jobs paying decent wages. Hard to predict, but most individuals want to be useful to society. Either work, remunerated or not, is one way to do so. So employment is one way we construct the social fabric. Perhaps people will be prepared to accept low pay in return for this social bond. But in the shortest term, however, the destruction of jobs is costly for those who lose them. The acceleration of creative destruction raises three questions. How can workers with jobs or not be protected? How can we prepare ourselves for this new world through education and regulatory changes? And how our society is going to adapt? Burying our heads in the sand is not a strategy. First, this brings me to the Tripartite Alliance for Fair and Progressive Employment Practices, or TAFEP, and I've raised this quite a number of times, including my maiden speech in Parliament. Over the years, TAFEP has relied on a range of methods to protect employee rights and combat workplace discrimination and inequality. It does so by encouraging and supporting employers who are able and willing to adopt progressive workplace practices. TAFEP would refer complaints to the MOM if further investigations are warranted. It then works with employers to change their practices and blacklist those who are unwilling to comply. Understandably, it is not possible to completely weed out workplace discrimination, just like it is impossible to completely stamp out discrimination in any community. And to prove discrimination is challenging, and there are laws in place that employers must comply with. Equipping TAFEP with legal powers to prosecute errant employers is something Singaporeans have openly wished for. Meanwhile, preferential treatment of foreigners is also another common grievance. According to TAFEP, it remained the top gripe of Singaporean workers for 5 years in a row and made up a third of the 213 grievances lodged in 2015. On the flip side, there are also claims that Singaporeans turned away jobs because they feel the pay is too low, thus leaving jobs to foreign nationals who are willing to work at lower wages. So my questions are, has any research been done on how true these claims are? If there is some truth in them, how can we resolve this? Are companies doing enough to integrate foreign employees so that they don't gravitate to their own nationalities? And should we also investigate whether employers are offering reasonable salaries that match the required job scope? In a gig economy where job security is on the decline, there is certainly going to be more frustration and panic among a generation that is accustomed to have stable jobs. Upskilling is certainly important and a personal responsibility, but we also must give Singaporeans the assurance that they will get jobs if they work for it. So I urge the Minister for Manpower, and I think it's somewhat highlighted in the addenda for the Ministry of Manpower, but to consider also giving TAFEP legal powers to act on errant employers. It is necessary to go beyond curtailing work passes to penalize employers who are blatantly flouting with discrimination laws. And I've heard from employees who have given up legal action against employers because it is too expensive and troublesome. In the US, for example, the equivalent Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is responsible for enforcing the federal laws that make it illegal to discriminate against a job applicant or an employee. The Commission pursues litigation against errant employers who are found to be guilty of discrimination offences. Similarly, in Australia, the Fair Work Ombudsman does the same thing. He has the power to initiate litigation against the national system of employers for contravening the Fair Work Act. So, in Singapore, we recognize the importance and effectiveness of the tripartite approach towards resolving workplace discrimination issues. As such, TAFEP is deserving of more powers to strengthen its capabilities. I hope this can slowly be part of the medium to long-term plan to ensure the ecosystem of inclusivity, which can be further enhanced, and all our talents can be maximized fully, regardless of an individual's physical disability, gender, and/or ethnicity. Indeed, Singaporeans want to live in a fair and just society, one based on meritocracy, but at the same time strives to leave no one behind. I strongly believe a stronger TAFEP is really needed, so that meritocracy works well and would go a long way to allay fears by Singaporeans and Singaporean job seekers in a expected tight labour market environment. Disruptions caused by automation is another concern of mine. According to the UK think tank Institute for Public Policy Research, IPPR, middle and low income workers are likely to lose their jobs to machines. Low-skilled roles could be completely phased out. And our government has rightly been encouraging employers to send their employees for training to acquire new skills to manage the new technologies. With large-scale retrenchment problem from automation, I think it's important that authorities also consider new guidelines that make it necessary for companies to help their workers to remain employable. The IPPR also suggests that automation can result in high profits at the expense of employees' salaries, and thus new guidelines for additional protection of workers could be necessary with the new use of emerging technologies by businesses. But how can companies help without putting an additional burden on them? The government may want to consider setting up a future-ready fund beyond the existing Skills Future Study Award for employers that we have now, where corporates and SMEs can tap. This future-ready fund can be used specifically to prepare our workforce in areas where they can be retrained or reskilled to meet the changes in the job market. For example, an SME can tap on it to focus on educating staff on being future-ready by having a monthly digitalization online course, for example, for a start, and then focus on a relevant job-related need. It needs to be sector-specific. Companies, management may be better suited to guide the type of challenges and opportunities needed and tailor a future-ready program for the employers. Next and finally, on fintech. Mr. Speaker, Singapore is on the right track to embrace it. In ASEAN, we have the largest sector of which 490 fintech companies that we have. The top few of our most well-funded fintech companies deal with cryptocurrency platforms and exchanges. I do think it is time to start looking into policies legalizing and regulating it. Switzerland has earned the reputation of having the friendliest and most welcoming environment for companies and tech firms when it comes to cryptocurrency regulations. Bitcoin is considered legal tender in the country, and it is hotbed for blockchain-based companies and advisory services. Cryptocurrencies are legal tender in Switzerland. I think we have a good potential to be a leader in fintech solutions in the Asia region. I'm pleased to note that some startups are offering their own cryptocurrency using ICO as a fundraising platform. And recently, there was even a fintech firm launching an initial coin offering advisory center. I think the Switzerland model could serve as a useful reference and guide towards possible liberation of regulations in regard to embracing cryptocurrency culture in Singapore. But fintech is more than cryptocurrencies. It is also about mobile banking, investments, online wealth management, and so forth. And I hope more Singaporean fintech startups will think beyond cryptocurrencies and venture into other areas of fintech. The MAS launched several grants to support fintech ventures, consolidated under the Startup SG. And while the focus appears to be on startups, I hope more assistance can be also given to companies to create and expand their own financial technologies, such as cashless payment apps and online purchasing platforms. Mr. Speaker, I would like to conclude that it is prudent that we stay abreast with technological developments in the industry so that we are a vibrant and connected city of opportunity. Our 4G leaders, I know, are well attuned to this need. At the same time, technology potentially causes a digital divide between the rich and the poor, adding yet another level of social disparity. We can play a part by introducing more teeth to toughen. Global inequality is on the rise. According to the World Inequality Report, we must be mindful that the wealth is fairly distributed, that the poor continue to get their needs met, and they can go on to obtain skills and education to support their families, and in turn, our economy. We are at the tip of a technological revolution. We must work doubly hard to make sure no one gets left behind. Thank you.